Okay, welcome to numerology, intro to numerology, and why numbers and what are the basics of this form of, you can say, divination or analytic system. As much as any other systems, numerology is a form of divination or kind of speculating about characteristics, as well as I would say timing. But like astrology, it's a divination system. It's like you basically take certain parameters about persona, about character, and you sort of speculate about the possibility, intent, and outcome. So before we dive into this, I'm just curious what brought you into this class. What piqued your curiosity, or what kind of relationship you do have with numerology? So I'm gonna talk to you versus to some imaginary crowd, basically. So you can, I would say you can either say something over the chat, or you can, I'm gonna see if I can unmute you guys and see where, yeah. So, and you can say a couple of words, why are you here, and what you're interested in numbers. Let's put it this way. Anyone?
To be informed of the rhythms and vibrations that are constantly around us, to be more in tune with them.
Okay. What else? Come on. Okay, I'm just gonna I'm just curious what brought you in here. So one was to be informed about vibration and numerology and what's behind it, I assume. But what else? Great. That's perfect. Kim wrote, tune into tools that help navigate life. Yeah, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. The chat is perfectly fine. So that's basically what it is. These are tools. Okay, Garrett says to understand further the concept of numerology as a whole. That's great. So numerology as a whole started as, I would say in history, started as rhythm. I mean, people recognize different rhythm around them. Even the seasons have different rhythm, different pace, and that was translated to numbers. I mean, numbers actually assigned to a Greek philosopher by the name Pythagoras, and that basically, and it's assigned to him as the founder of the systems of numbers. And he basically saw different order, and it's basically you're talking about early Greek time, and Pythagoras as a philosopher thought that that basically the universe has a certain rhythmic rhythmic vibration, and there's a certain order that it's clocked by, and he basically paved the way to other philosophers to observe numbers as archetype rather than just numbers that like a characteristic. Others actually in the 300 AD looks at numbers as the universal language, and similar to Pythagoras, they believed that everything had a numerical relationship, and there is a secret unseen relationship to certain rhythms that create certain reality. Today, basically, many scientists are following a similar line of thoughts with string theory, or the idea that one on the smallest level of material existence, everything in the universe tied together by string that vibrate at different frequencies. So numbers are just the representation of a frequency. And I would say if you are a musician or play music, you know that there's a rhythm of 3, there's a rhythm of 5, there's certain tempos that create a certain vibration. And numbers, I would say, in many ways, basically, numbers are archetypes. Now, the system that I actually work with is called Tantric Numerology. And just in the sense, and that's what I teach, and that's one of the, I would say, complete systems of numbers, basically. So when we look at numbers, we looked at archetype, and in Tantra as a form, which coming from India in a Vedic tradition, is basically the concept that the inner and outer worlds are connected. The above, what we think above and below, is the same representation of reality. And basically, you can say that numbers or rhythms has, a magnetic vibration and an electric vibration. Means it has an attracting vibration and it has a repelling vibration, or some other people will call it, in the forms of numbers, has the forms of shadow and light, right? So whatever we call the shadow side is a contracting aspect of that vibration, and whatever we're calling the light side is the expansion of that vibration. For example, the number 1 has a vibration of courage, or trying things, or taking a leap of faith on the light or the expansive vibration. On the contracting vibration, the vibration of 1 can be a vibration of being self-centered, egotistic, mousy, fearful, not willing to take any risk, basically. Much more comfortable with a tunnel vision. So this is like, for example, the archetype of the gamuts of shadow and light in numbers. Now, in numerology, in general, we're looking at 1 through 9 as a vibration. There is 1 through 9, right? In Tantric Numerology, we're looking at 11 vibrations. We're looking at 1 through 11, where 10 is a higher octave of 1, and it's associated with a body of energy. All of them associated with a body of energy, as a matter of fact. And 11 is the amalgamation or the collective qualities of all the numbers together. And that's why people a lot of time talk to me and said, I don't know why, where is this phrase come from? I saw an angel number or significant, I saw 333, I saw 1111. And these are, 11 is a vibration of, it's a mastery number that within that component, you can say that it can be either everything that you can actually accomplish in that number, and it can be also the confinement of ideals and values that mastery sometimes brings to us to become fanatic around your ideals and ideals. So, not trying to suggest that all 11s can be fanatics, but the things, the ideals of conflict and aspect of being extreme can be with a mastery number. So, but in general, all numeric system has a 1 to 9, where I would say in general, 0, when 0 is a number 2, 0 is a number that expand or accelerate the number that it's attached to. And that's why 10 is a higher octave of 1, or 30 is a higher octave of 3, because what it does, it's basically expand the qualities of the number that it's attached to. So when we're looking at a numeric system, we're looking at sets of archetypes. We're looking at sets of frequencies or vibrations. We're looking at a code that each and every one of us is operating by and is significant to each and any one of us in a particular configuration. And that configuration is how we, each one of us, is engaged with our reality. So let me put, like, I want to share a slide here, and this is a good question for all of you. And it is, what is an inner reality within a numeric vocabulary? What is an inner reality within a numeric vocabulary? So each one of us, our soul, here's the thing. I mean, the soul goes in cycles. And every birth create a certain imprint in a certain time and space that bring a certain coding to a personality or to a soul. So a soul that was born on November 13 is different, and in a year of 1664 is different than a soul that was born in December 31st, 2002, for example, because it carries certain imprints and archetypes that have that soul engage in the world on a daily, monthly, yearly, seasonal, basic, differently, and hold their reality and their perception differently. So numerology has a psychological profile based on that. It has a personality based profile. Each soul is unique. And the nice thing I would say about numerology is that it's not necessarily it's not so much embedded in symbols like astrology. It has a much different type of archetype that you can say its characteristics are, in my opinion, they're much more relatable or direct and practical than other systems of, you say, divination or assessment, as we established in the beginning. All these systems are systems of defining characteristic of a soul in a certain point in time and how it's evolved in its time cycle and express itself in the world. Now, as we established before, numbers has the negative and the positive, or the expansive and the contractive value, the shadow and light. And each one of us carry these aspects. But also in a numeric chart, each one of us carry the aspects of, you can say, the characteristics of what we need to work on through our lives, what is actually we have to work on ongoingly till the day we leave our physical body. And what are the things, what is the areas that we don't need to work with that are enhanced as, you can say, a gift or advantage for us to celebrate, take advantage of. Some things that comes easy to us are usually in the side of numbers that are in a gift or asset position, or in a place where we already actually worked on these aspects in life for many lifetimes, and therefore we can actually benefit from. The side that we need to work with, I mean, I can share with you the day, if you were born on any day of the daily number, which is from 1 to 31 in some months, or 1 to 30 in some other months, or 1 to 28 in some other months. This is like something we need to work on every day. Every day it will show up. It will show up how we view our reality through that number. It will show up how we, you can say, engage with other people. It will show up how we basically engage with with not with other people, how we engage with our reality, it will show up how we, you can say, an area or an aspect that we always have challenge with. Like, for instance, someone has challenge with, you can say, the three usual suspects, with money or generating, with health issues, with, you can say, with relationship, with family. I guarantee the number of your daily vibration will address some of it. There are other numbers that will show also what is in that area needs to be addressed. So it's, whether, I would say, in any numeric system, whether it's pure numerology or even the tarot, numbers has a certain projection. And one thing that is really important in terms of like numerology is there is our outer reality within a numeric vocabulary would be our projection. Our inner reality will be what is the way we handle experiences underneath it all. So you can say numerology reflects our ability to recognize our inner and outer realities. Any reaction we have, any understanding to the outer world has an inner reality, has an inside job or characteristic that each one of us hold, our personality, our character, the prism that we actually operate from, how we look at things, has an unseen reality that most of the time, we don't even know that that's what drives our reality. I'm just curious how many of you can understand that and relate to that. I don't want to talk over your head because all of you do understand that. I know that, but I just want to know, what do you see in that? Because each one of us has an inner reality, an inner vibration that determined how we view, interact, and even how we choose in our outer actions, words, and choices. So within that, you can say that numerology defined is a non-dual structure that observes the experience between the relationship between our inner or self, hidden self, and greater self, or our universe. It is a mathematical system which identified how we interact with the topic that I just kind of say, how we interact with what we consider a home, how we interact with what we consider a commitment, how we interact when it comes to a relationship, how we interact with concept like family, environment, capitalism, money, how we interact with that. And many of us actually, unless we actually inquire, the system of numerology provides an ability to see some of the, you can say, the operating system, the hidden operating system, which we operate from. And when you know your operating system, you can actually have a free will. Not knowing something, there's no really the ability for it to have a free will. I believe in any of the system. It doesn't matter when we were born. Yes, we are coming from a certain lineage, we carry a certain DNA, but it's frequencies. So if you know your frequency, you can actually choose a different frequency to operate from, or do something that is not necessarily within the numeric frame of understanding that most of us operate from. Does that make sense to you? I just need some. Give me a sign. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying now? You can just type, yes, it makes sense. No, it doesn't make any sense, or I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, I guess it makes sense. Yes, that's a very good. Kim actually said something that it's a reflection of how we react to situation or observes the self acting on experience. Absolutely. But it's more than that. It's actually certain vibration will create us to actually have and master certain experiences in order to overcome that experience and gain insight. So even the vibration or the numeric chart that each one of us had, the personal chart, actually creates a certain experience for us to have a certain characteristic. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because also a numeric chart in numbers, you can actually look at what we brought from past life as well. I actually like the idea. It's not even a matter of believing of reincarnation. I like that idea. I like the idea that the soul is always coming back in different forms to have a different experience. So in a numeric chart within Tantric Numerology, where there's no difference between inner and outer, above and below, shadow and light, because they're both two forms of the same reality. In that forms, there's also a reading within it, what was brought from past life, what experiences were brought from past life, what areas of mastery brought from past life. And usually in a chart, what was brought from past life a lot of times is recognized as we comfortable with that. Like, for instance, if someone is really comfortable in, let's say, handling money, or it's not a big deal for them to handle money or be in a position of power, more likely they had that experience, or they gained that experience over many lifetimes and brought it in to this lifetime. So, and usually, or someone that likes to sit in a lab or be a loner, let's put it this way, it's usually someone who's comfortable with that aspect because they practice it many lifetimes. And the thing is that can be sometimes challenging is not to keep on practicing what we're comfortable with, but actually try something that is totally opposite because this is really what we need to gain mastery in this lifetime, so to speak. Let's talk a little bit about the projection, the progression of numbers. So numbers in general, when you have rhythms, the rhythm of 1 is different than the rhythm of 3, and so on. So there is a progression of rhythms, and just the rhythm itself, you can understand what it can represent for you and for others. Let's look at that a little bit, because I think you will be, I think you'll be, just that basic actually will give you some sort of understanding of the flow of rhythms and numbers. So let me just share my screen here. So when we go to number 1, 1 is always about starting, initiating, opening up, a beginning, first steps, leap of faith, things like that. So if you are a 1 in some parts of your chart, by the way, we never are a 1 number. We never a 1 number. We are a multiple of characteristics. So when some systems of numerology talks about I'm a 9, I'm a 6, I'm a 3, usually they talk about one position, which is the position of our path. And that position is a position of, you can say, what we enjoy or what we like to do or experience in this lifetime. It's one equation. A numeric chart has close to 30 vibrations. But let's go back to the flow of number. We talked a little bit about 1. When we go to 2, it's like 2 points and a line between them, right? So it's like the 2 brain hemispheres. It's moving between 2 points. So 2, as a characteristic, has the step of splitting, polarizing. From 1, the polarizing effect of 2, which is division or harmony, because when you include the 2 point, you create a harmony. When you actually divide the 2 points and you take a position, you create a division. And then we go to the triangle. 3, the third dimension. There is dynamic movement when we add a third point into the 2 polarizing point of view. So you have receptivity, you have creativity, you have movement, you have play. It's like there is a third point of view that creates another dynamic. And it is a creative dynamic. And 3 is about that creative aspect. And then when you go to this 4, the square, we go to a stability, stabilizing, or foundation, or structure, or form. And the form can be a foundation, or it can be something that is associated with rigidity or being stuck in some way. But it has both. It has structure and form, and it has the contractive side of being basically confined or rigid. And when people say this person is square, or whatever it is that used to be an expression, it means that he's kind of rigid, so to speak. Then we go to the fifth dimension. So a fifth, it's another point that breaks that square into movement. So there is a learning, there is wisdom, there is movement, there is physicality. 5 is associated with the physical body or the physical aspect of life. When we move to 6, we're going to 2 triangles. It's again, it's creating harmony, it's creating beauty, it's consciousness, it's stable and even, but not in a rigid way, but in a circular manner. When you have, for instance, Star of David, or the shape of a beehive unit, it's a beautiful shape. It's almost a circle, and it creates basically beauty and stability and harmony. 7 breaks that circle. It creates complexity. And 7 is associated with the intellect. It's associated with knowledge. It's associated with the aspect of, I would say, the analytical aspect of life. And that's where complexity comes to place. And some of us who has these 7s in our chart, we can be very good in analyzing and figuring out things, but we can also be in a place of trying to figure everything out of complexity and the intellect, which can get us into trouble. When we get to 8, it's again, it's a number of, it's 2 squares. It has the aspect of power, energy, and flowing. When you have just the squares, you have rigidity and you have power struggles, 2 square, 2 4s. But when you actually take that 8 to infinity, you have a perpetual flow of energy and power. 9 is associated with mastery or completion. It's mastery because 3 is the creative aspect and it's multiple by 3. So it's creativity and depth. And the challenge with 9s is that it's the interest in many aspects of life, but the challenge is to take that interest or creativity into a depth of expertise and mastery. And also 9 is a completion number because 1 to 9, we complete things within the 9 cycle. So with 9, if you have a 9 in your chart, at times 9 is also the feminine aspect or the intuitive aspect. And the challenge for 9s is to start and complete tasks or projects or lifelong studies. Let's put it this way. So just to sum it up, we have the progression of numbers of initiating, polarizing, creativity, the third dimension, stabilizing, motion of change, 5 is change, restabilizing, creating again harmony, and then break it down to complexity with a 7, moving from a 7 to stabilizing energy of power and taking it to a flow beyond constraint. And finally, coming to 9 is the stage of mastery. So this is kind of, you can say, the tip of the iceberg of numerology. Just kind of, we just went over some of the basic vocabulary of numbers in their progression, in the rhythmic progression. Obviously, numerology, or the basics of numerology, has more at hand. It's like each number is associated with a body of energy. Each number is associated with an archetype that is reflected in different ways, in different position of our chart. Each number is signify a time cycle. Each vibration as well is about not just the characteristic of us, or it's also signify how we relate to other people, and what is the area. For instance, the area of one is pioneering and taking risks, how we relate to that area as a character. So basically, so I'm gonna open it up. Do you have any questions so far? Because I want to talk a little bit about and tell you what the basics, or N1, numerology 1, is about. That aspect of the numerology course. There's N1 and there's N2, but I want to hear whether you have any questions regarding to this. Anything? No? No questions, or maybe I talk too much. Okay. If you have any questions, just type them down, or I think I gave you a ability to unmute, but I'm not sure.
I don't have any questions. I just came to listen, just so
Okay,
you know. Yeah,
okay,
everything you said was very fascinating.
cool. So anybody else, any questions? Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what is numerology 1. I don't know if I'm sharing the screen. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Numerology 1 begins May 30th, and it's a 6-week program. And what it's about. So the first part of certificate is 2 parts, but you can be satisfied with 1 or 2 of them. It's up to you, because I'm going actually to actually offer it a few times during the year. So if you start with 1 and you don't want to take 2, or doesn't work, there will be other chances to actually complete your studies. So numerology 1 has 6 components. It has numbers, their history, vocabularies. We talked a little bit of number progression, but it's much more than number progression. As I said, it's actually starting to go in depth about each vibration and its characteristics. We're going to talk about 11 bodies of consciousness, because in Tantric Numerology, numbers are associated with vibrations of spirit. It's associated with how certain aspect of ourselves is being expressed. So, for instance, if you are if you have a 8 in your chart, 8 is associated with the pranic body or the body of life force. And understanding that actually provides us the ability to build or create a numeric chart. We're going to learn the basic position within a numeric chart. We're going to learn about significant numbers, because here's the thing. There is 1 to 9 or 1 through 11, and there are significant numbers which provide extra insight into one's destiny. For instance, 19 is a significant number. 33 is a significant number. Some of us hold that extra, I would say, characteristics that provide another layer of how we interact, what is our consciousness of ourselves and others, and it provides a whole other sets of insight. Then we're going to learn about transformer numbers. Transformer numbers are key to opportunity. For instance, and that's the main difference between astrology and numerology, for instance, because it's a mathematical equation. It's not as fatalistic as astrology. And since it's mathematical equations within a chart, for instance, a challenge position can be diverted if we know what will be the key number to change challenge into opportunity, or what will be a key number to have our projection or how we present ourselves in life in a positive way. What will be that number or that quality that we need to focus on? And finally, the 6th week, we're gonna learn how to build or construct a chart. To enroll in the program, you can review the information on my site, or you can actually, you're welcome to send me email. This date is not correct. I didn't change it, but it starts on May 30th, or you can actually schedule a call and we can talk a little bit about what is your take on numbers and what is the way for you to actually, what your interest, and whether I can actually accommodate you with something specific that maybe suits you more than others. Question, come on, you guys have questions, make it up. Make up a question. Any questions? I was looking forward for your questions, even questions about yourself and numbers. I usually don't give opportunity to ask questions about your own numbers, but I'm happy to do that at this point in time. No? Wow. You must be thinking about something. Let's see. No questions. Any requests about numbers? Last chance. I mean, maybe you'll ask me something about, I want to know about this, this, and this, or any questions about, because I mean, otherwise, if you wouldn't come here unless you were interested in something around numbers. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, you can send me, I'm just going to type in my email, and you can send me question via email about.
Kim asked a question in the chat.
Oh, good. Let me see. Okay, Kim asked, when approaching a number, what do you first think about? Can you elaborate on this a little bit more? Let me see if I can. Maybe you can ask it. What do you mean by approaching a number? Can you give a number? I mean, can you elaborate on that? Because trying to understand the question. What is, okay.
She says her phone won't let her unmute.
No, I got that. I'm looking at the chat as well. That's okay. Do you mean what is the first thing that you need to ask yourself about a number when you see one? I mean, the first thing is like, okay, we went over progression of numbers a little bit. So the first thing that probably you look at, when you look at number, you look at what is the vibration of it? What does it express? What is the frequency of it? If it's a one, it's a one, it's stepping out kind of thing. If it's a two, there is, so it's like, you look, the first thing you look at its frequency. And numbers exist everywhere you walk. I mean, it's like, it's you can start noticing certain things in numbers that you haven't noticed before, right? So the first thing to notice is, what is the frequency of it? And also I would say, on an intuitive level, you can say to yourself, what does it really tells me? And see, does it match the vibrations of it? If 9, for instance, is a number of completion, when you see a 9, I would say, you can say, is there something that I'm incomplete with? You can say. Or if you notice a 7, you can say, because 7 is the intellect, or it's about the self, and basically giving opportunity for the self to take time alone. Maybe you need to say to yourself, do I need to take time alone to figure out things? I mean, I would say that within that progression, there is a lot that you actually can inquire about. And I will add more to really know, what, when approaching a number, to really know the numeric vocabulary. There's also more characteristic to understand about each vibration and its position within a chart, for instance. But for instance, the year 2022, the first thing you notice, there's a lot of twos in this year. So the fact that the twos are about polarizing or versus harmonizing, that these forces are going to be activated in this year. If you have more insight, 22, for instance, is a double 11. What does that mean? 11 is a mastery number. That can give you another impression. But as any language, numbers is a language. We need to understand the language first to actually to gain insight to it. Any last questions? I put my email in the chat. And if you have any other questions or inquiries about learning numerology, please send me your insight and questions. And with that, I feel we complete. I hope it was insightful and helpful for you. And I hope to see you again. Hari Om. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.